Hello there, this is Sharon Pierce from Near Desert Experience. It's November 23rd, 2024. I'm trying one more time to get this set up the way I would like it. So what I'm going to do is do previews. I'm going to share screen. There's one, and I will go back down. All right, so my reason for doing this is that we've had our first atmospheric river storm of the year several days ago on Wednesday, November 20th. And it came down, hit the state of Washington, Oregon, Northern California. It even came down as far as the Bay, really hit Sonoma County, Santa Rosa. It was up, I was driving on Wednesday up in Clear Lake to rescue a dog that needed to come down to University of California at Davis to be seen by a veterinarian. So I brought it down through the hills. It was raining the whole time. It wasn't as bad as I have experienced at times, but it was pouring down rain the whole time. And down through Williams to Davis, and then back to this North Bay area where I live. So that was the first atmospheric river of this year, and I would like to share something. This was a report yesterday from about the Santa Rosa area and the Santa Rosa River, I think it's called, or Santa Rosa Creek.
Right now, this creek, I can tell you, really rising the water level out here. Several people coming to take a look. Crews out here telling people just to stay away. That has been the cycle of this creek, though. There's debris right along this creek that tells us that the water level has risen, then it recedes. Right now, it looks like it's really rising. We've been here for about an hour or so, and there's been a significant change in the water level out here. And that's why crews are keeping a close eye on this creek right now, Ryan. If you take a look at the video, you can see how drastic it is. You have rushing water out here, and when it gets at this level, that's when the concern is for roads. We have several road closures in the city of Santa Rosa right now. When the creek gets to this level, they know that they have to go out and they have to make sure that there's no backup in the streams, in the storm drains. They're trying to clear all of that because that's when you start to have problems. And people in this area telling me that things were much worse last night, yesterday evening. They had numerous calls for fire crews to go out and check on several incidents. And people tell me that they're hopeful this creek isn't going to impact their homes in this area, but they're also happy to see this amount of rain in California.
I'm not too worried about it. It's more of a curiosity. We've had other rain like this and it's been okay. I think Santa Rosa is going to be okay, at least this part.
All right, so that's enough for this. We're going to stop sharing right here. And I want to go to share something else, my usual map that I've always shown on NDE, Near Desert Experience, just to report that on November 5th we did have the election, and the winner was the person who was not expected to win, really, but he did win. And but what happened down here in House District 27, that seat flipped. The new congressman is George Whitesides. He's a former NASA executive, and he's a scientist, and he's worked on developing metadata to identify where hotspots may be when wildfires are ready to develop so that firefighters will know where to dedicate their resources. He's a serious person, but he makes a personable, amiable presentation. Still, it was a close fight for him. He's a Democrat. This one, they're still counting. They always do that. They make you wait. They'd go back in and do a recount because the numbers are so close. They never got more than 55% of the vote in to tell us how it's going to go. But basically, California will pretty much look like it always does. And it voted that way. The rivers, the atmospheric rivers, the one I showed you came this way, came down here. Santa Rosa is up through here. And they're expecting another one this coming week, which will be down in the LA area and San Diego. A couple of years ago, it flooded over in this area. This is Lompoc, Santa Maria. It flooded all in this area. What I wanted to say about George Whitesides in this district is it's urban, it's semi-urban, and at the desert level, it's rural. But with all this water coming in, it's going to be more of a lush area, and I think more people will want to live in this area, but they have to manage the water. But the water districts must be watched carefully by the residents and make sure that they don't pull any fast moves, like selling the water they get and then taxing people, saying you have to pay more, or raising rates. We sold your water and now we have to buy more. Stuff like that. The underground rivers, the dry sinks, dry lakes, the underground wells, they're season by season, they're replenishing again from years of being depleted, and some of that came from farmers, dry land and farmers. This Tulare Lake area is filling in again. The farmers drained it so much and drained out the underwater wells and natural wells and so forth, that it's a big sink now. And so when the water comes in, it really does come in, and they have to accept the fact that they can't raise the crops that they used to raise. They said when the time came they would accept it, but they don't want to accept it. They've been fined, and now they have to be at the table, and the people all in this area have to be there too, with the water districts and the city and county planning departments, and be watchful of where that water's going, how the water's managed in the reservoirs, and where will there be funding for new reservoirs. And that's another issue, because right now when the deluges come, they run off the hillsides and eventually go out to sea again. We store some water as much as we can, 100%, but we need more reservoirs. The Feather River in this atmospheric river picked up a lot of water and was rising. The Feather River flows into the Sacramento River, and then the Sacramento River and the San Joaquin River and some others feed out into the Bay Area through San Francisco Bay. So this is a whole delta area right here. So that's what's happening with that. So I encourage people to remember that when the water comes down from the sky into your backyard, it's yours. That's my position. I encourage other people to take it and not believe that you have to drain it off and give it away to the water district or this or that, especially if people have some land out here. They have to be watchful because their land can be eroded in these deluges. Lots of things can happen. Roads wiped out, landslides, and then there's an investment cost in repairing them. But just be aware, because this area is going to become wet again. It's not going to be like Florida, but it's going to be moist. It's going to have lush vegetation. It's going to change over many decades. But it's happening now. It's not, we don't have minutes on the clock before the great shift comes. I take the position the shift has been here. It's an environmental change. Those are the words I use. I don't use the ones that are politically volatile that people fought about for years and resisted accepting, and then they ended up high and dry because they didn't prepare as science was telling them to prepare. Now they're all wet. So that's what's happening. There's another tendency for water to flow. Well, it flows up through the bay and it goes up around the north edge of Stockton. So there's always some moisture pattern going up that way. And there's another pattern with the winds and the rain that go up this way, and they curve around the north edge of Las Vegas. Then they go up northeast towards Utah and over down around the Grand Canyon, Arizona. So it's interesting to watch and to think about, this whole area over in here, the Inland Empire going east from LA, that's San Gabriel Mountains and San Bernardino Mountains. And so they collect water and the water runs off, and so does the soil. So does landslides, and roads buckle, and they have lots of problems. All right, that's what the task is, to take for the citizens and the homeowners to be aware and take control of the situation as much as you can. And that's what I have to say about that. Now, I'm not going to be working on this channel as much as far as near desert experience and what to do about the water, because I've been talking about it since last March through the election season. The congressional districts have pretty much stayed the same, with a couple flips, I guess, in California. California held its own, as it always does. And it's going to be California, and the governor are setting up to defend itself against the many challenges that the new administration in Washington wants to bring California down. They're not the brightest of people, I dare say. The voters sort of like them because it's like watching a spectacular movie. They don't accomplish all the things that are projected on them that they accomplished when they were there before. This time people are ready for them, so it's going to be a very restrictive, restraining type of administration, but still with executive privilege and the judicial system on their side and Congress on their side. They're going to start making changes to our Constitution, to our setups for government, wants to attack some states, wants to attack groups of people who shouldn't be attacked at all, people who are doing nothing but living their lives, recent immigrants. Now, they talk big. Sometimes this guy who's been elected doesn't follow through. He likes to talk big, that he runs away, he backs off. But sometimes he does things. So the governor of California has put together a team, and they're going to be basically putting up the ramparts on very many levels around California, and I dare say the other Western state Pacific Coast governors will be doing the same. Even though they wanted him for his party affiliation, they have to protect their rights on how they manage the land. And he's already making claims he's going to take and buy a lot of the non-federal land that is in parks in the West, all over the country, including the West. State parks, regional parks, take it, buy it, and sell it for commercial interests. In Wyoming, the governor or Congress there, legislature, has put together a plan already to file it. They haven't even taken their oaths of office, but they have a plan to offer for sale to the federal government Grand Teton Park to go for commercial development. So this is what we're facing, the biggest changes to our way of life, Constitution, Republic, and the democracy that we have ever faced as the United States. So what I would do now, I want to change my channel to be more for myself about literacy, because I'm a literacy tutor, volunteer for a while yet, and language and voiceover work, voice recording, and doing some readings and some presentations on literacy. And it won't be just talking about everybody, just be involved with your water, learn about your water district and learn about the planning department in your city and county. Planning departments are actually very easygoing. As a contract journalist who covered city councils and planning departments, I learned that planning departments allow most of the plans to flow on through like those atmospheric rivers on a good day. They don't put up, they ask questions, but they're very easygoing about allowing things. Sometimes they don't, but that's not the majority of the time. The vast majority of the time, planning departments for cities and counties let people do what they come in and say they'd like to do, and here are their plans, and you know, the city manager has reviewed them and everybody's on board with this, so why don't you just vote it in as an okay and let us go on about what we want to do. And that's pretty much what they do. So I would advise all people living in around the desert regions where the deluges tend to hit to be watchful of their planning commissions. And by the way, members of the planning commission do not have to be, engineers. They don't have to be architects. They don't have to be people who are educated highly on the subject of building and whatnot. They have to be representative of the people and ask the kind of questions the people would ask. So that's why it behooves the people to be behind the planning commission and tell them what questions you want asked, and to show up at the meetings and talk about these things and about the water. So that's about all I'm going to say about that now, except happy holidays and best wishes from Sharon Pierce, Near Desert Experience.